Hi friends, so today I just wanted to share a message that I received from me in my meditation today. And it was about the exact message was, you're not responsible for being the villain in someone else's story. As in, we're not responsible for other people's perception of us or other people's perception of things we're doing for our health, as in us setting our boundaries. If someone's responding negatively to you setting boundaries, you need to feel safe or to feel healthy or to feel good. It's not your responsibility if they take it negatively. It's not your responsibility if they take it positively either. It's not your responsibility at all, but it's definitely not your responsibility to soothe them if they're not responding to you taking care of yourself. So that was the first half, is you're not responsible for being the villain in someone else's story. And then the other half was, you're also not responsible to be the hero of their story, because you're only responsible to be the hero of your own story, and they're responsible to be the hero of their story. So you cannot manipulate or change or influence someone else's view or perception of you, especially if it's negative. And if it is negative, it's usually a projection of something that's going on with them. So it's usually something that you're triggering inside them. Like, for example, if someone is judging you for something, it's because they judged themselves for the same thing. Or in turn, if you find yourself judging someone else for something, it's probably because you judge yourself for that same thing inside. So you're not responsible for their perception of you, and you're not responsible to make it better if it's bad. It's not your job to convince people to like you or to accept you or to embrace you. All you can do is your best, and you have to be the hero of your story, which means being authentic, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, prioritizing your needs and your health and your self-love and your self-worth and self-value. And if somebody responds to that negatively, especially somebody close to you, it's not your responsibility to soothe them or to step back from embracing your power the way you have. So you're not responsible for being the villain in someone else's story, and you're not responsible for being the hero in their story. You're only responsible for being your own hero. You're the hero of your own story, no one else. And also, don't let someone else be the hero of your story. This also goes in turn, right? So whoever you're villainizing, you're carrying the weight of making them the villain of your story. So for example, if you're having a hard time with someone's really triggering you, you're carrying a lot of negative emotion towards this person, you're the only one suffering. You're the only one suffering. They don't know. They're living their life. They probably maybe have no idea you even feel this way towards them. For example, this may even happen if you're scrolling on Instagram, you come across somebody and you start judging, this, that. They have no idea. They're going on with their life. They may be incredibly happy in their life. You're the only one suffering with these negative emotions now. So for example, if you're villainizing someone, you're the only one suffering. You're the only one that's the villain at this point, the only one that's the bad guy. So you're responsible for the position and the placements and the energy and the perception you have of yourself and the people around you. So if you do find yourself villainizing, demonizing, making someone else the bad guy in your story, it's usually because you're not taking responsibility for something in your own life and projecting that onto someone else, or they're triggering something that you dislike in yourself, or they're triggering an emotional wound that needs to be healed. Those are usually the three kind of major things. But usually if there's something, an emotion coming up, it's because it's triggering something within us. We're pretty much always projecting our own perception onto everything. So long story short, this video was not meant to be this long. But I think it's interesting, and I think it's important for us to be aware of how we are perceiving the people around us and what we're assigning them, especially if we're carrying negative emotion towards people, because we're the only one suffering with that. We're the only one carrying that negative emotion at that point. It's not hurting that other person. It's not punishing them. you're literally only hurting yourself and punishing yourself by keeping yourself in this negative space. And as we learned before, we're energetic beings, we're an energetic frequency. So if you're holding on to this negative emotion, this emotion of judgment or resentment or anger or, I don't know, shame, whatever it may be, you're putting that out, and so you're actually pulling that in. So for example, the people that carry the energy of judgment, they judge others because they're afraid of being judged. And because the lens which they see the world, because they judge people, is they think that everybody does that. Everybody judges people. And let me tell you, it's not normal. It's wounds. It's fear. It's a fear-based thing. It's not normal. It's not part of our human nature to be judgmental. Little kids are not judgmental of other kids. So you're putting this frequency out into the world, and therefore you're attracting it more. So if you have a frequency and energy of judgment around you, you're attracting more judgment because you're putting out judgment. So we need to be responsible for the emotions we assign to other people, the emotions we're carrying and that we're putting off on other people, that we're not taking responsibility for, and so we're assigning them to other people in our lives. And also recognize that we're the only ones suffering for these negative emotions. And so my message today that I received and I wanted to share because I thought it was important, because it's something that I don't feel gets talked about a lot unless you're around me in person. But you're not responsible for being the villain in someone else's story. You're not responsible for changing that. And you're not responsible for being their hero. You're only responsible for being your own hero. So be your own hero today, whatever that means.